welcome back on this frighteningly warm mid-February day in Ithaca. My pleasure to introduce today's speaker. She is not new to Cornell. She spent the 2009-10 academic year here as a Fulbright sponsored Hubert Humphrey Fellow. There are many Humphrey. Raise your hand if you're a current Humphrey. All right. So,
Great.
After our speakers talk, if any of the Humphrey Fellows and others, we gave people an opportunity to sign up to join Eugenia for a light informal lunch afterwards. I think we had some people sign up. So, but in addition to those Humphrey Fellows, if you're interested in joining Eugenia, we'll just meet right up here at the front afterwards. Okay, great. So Eugenia Saini is the executive secretary of FONTAGRO. That's the Regional Fund for Agricultural Technology. She's the first woman to lead that organization. FONTAGRO's mission is to strengthen agriculture and food system innovation in a sustainable manner across its member countries. Its member countries include countries across Latin America and the Caribbean. Throughout much of Dr. Saini's nearly 25-year career, she's engaged in strategic planning, project execution, reporting for national and international organizations and operations in agriculture, rural development, and sustainable agricultural enterprise. Again, primarily in Latin America and Caribbean countries. And she has a strong focus on family farming. FONTAGRO aims to strengthen the links between public and private organizations that improve agricultural governance, increase investments in research and development that lead to innovation, especially innovations that improve the lives of farmers. They're also involved in efforts to foster inclusion, conservation of natural resources, sustainability, and food safety. A number of their private partners include partners along the food and agriculture value chain. As I mentioned, she spent a full academic year here. First time been back, I think, in a dozen years or so. Welcome back. And most recently was awarded the Abshire-Inamori Leadership Academy Scholarship at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Saini.
Very much. Thank you very much, Terry, for inviting me. It's an honor, of course, to come back to Cornell, a wonderful university. I want to be also thankful for the State Department for allow all the Humphrey Fellows to have this opportunity as well. So we really have to honor this program. In my experience, as Terry was mentioned, I started working as an agronomy. My background is based in science, but then through my career, I was always studying, and this is something that I want to tell you. Don't believe that with just one discipline, you are going to be all what you need to do. You have to keep learning all the time, and you will see through my presentation all kind of different topics that I have to go and been through in order to achieve success at some point. Also, sometimes through the career, we can fail, but it's always important to keep working and see how we can achieve the goals that we have, especially when talking about global development. So in my case, I want to introduce FONTAGRO and how we can build agricultural research ecosystems. So as you know, and for sure you are aware, we have a lot of common challenges. And I suggest that you always have literature that you need to review every day, every week, every month. There is so much information, but you have to absorb in some way, what international organizations are looking at, what international organizations are telling us. So I will just point a few reports that I will suggest to, keep in a loop. And we know that if we look for the next decades, and actually today, we have these challenges. We need to increase production, but also nutrition. We have the problem of the price inflation, and that is going to be probably for a long time. It's not like a casual, situation. We also have the NDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that every country needs to achieve, and it's depend of us how we help organizations in our countries to achieve those. At the same time, we are aware about the health crisis and also the war. All these challenges, all these situations are coming every time more frequent in our environment. And we have to be able to cope those challenges and trying to decide, or develop alternative of solutions that help, farmers, and I will not say just farmers, the food system as a whole, companies that are part of those systems, farmers in all the scale. So my approach is going to be how science, technology, and innovation can help on achieving, or coping with those challenges. So this report that I recommend you all of you to download, it was just published recently, is talk about different drivers on the agri-food systems. And they say specifically that we have systemic drivers as population dynamics, economic growth, cross-country interdependencies, geopolitical instability, big data, risks and uncertainties. We have others related with, rural and urban poverty. All or each of those are at the same time playing a very important role for us as researchers, as managers, and taking, decision on what we are going to be our next steps. And I will just stop on, the drivers that directly affecting food and agricultural production, which is innovation and science, public investment in the agri-food systems, capital and information intensity of production, and market concentration. From all of these four, I will just focus in the four, in the two of those. I mean, innovation and science, and public investment and agri-food systems. It's very important for those that are not related very close to what is innovation, science, and technology to always review what that means. Yeah, I'm not gonna go in this definition now, but I think this presentation is gonna be available later. So it's always understand what is, what is the difference among all of them. I'm sorry. So if I go to the science, technology, and innovation, which is the driver 10 in the publication that I showed before, this is crucial for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, for making agri-food system more resilient, sustainable, and also for increasing productivity with less impact in the environment, for safeguarding the environment as well, and especially for providing enough food and good nutrition. We have right now around 900 million people with problems in nutrition that they have, or they need a specific solution for that. Another point that is important when talking about science, technology, and innovation is that we are in the last, I can say, maybe 3 decades in a process of conversions of disciplines, which means that before, most of the disciplines were like working in silos, and what is happening in the last decade that all scientists started to collaborate and understanding how they can complement one discipline with another, and that create new opportunities for breakthrough, for new innovation. So this is very important, and we are gonna see later why. So this conversion in disciplines move forward the development of the new innovations. The system, the science, technology, and innovation also require new organizational arrangements. If you look for how research have been done in the last decade, we have, some models that the researcher is just working alone in a lab. What that model is like finishing is, if I can say, what we need is more people working together and exchanging what they are, finding or what they are looking at. At the same time, the science, technology, and innovation require also enhancing the educational programs. I found two very good examples. One in Argentina is from the University of the University of the Companies. I don't know if that is the right translation, but what they do is you can pick a degree, but if you do 2 years more, you can do another degree. They complement the degree. And that is very important because through your life, you will need to acquire a lot of information, a lot of disciplines in order to be successful and delivering solutions. And another example that is very, very good is from Zamorano University. 2 or 3 years ago, they reached me asking me for a survey, what kind of discipline do you think the university needs to promote? And I think a lot of universities are doing that. So I really want to highlight it because I think it's one of the main pillars for everything we need to do in the future. I mean, having people with the right skills. And also the science, technology, and innovation require for the better understanding of those potential risks related with the development of new technologies. And I know that we all know about this. So we are going to look some numbers very quickly since my presentation has 60 slides, and I don't think I will be able to deliver all of them. But in the publication that I showed before from FAO, they will show you what is happening, for example, with the outputs of the research systems. So here, if you see, I'm not gonna read what is here in the slide, but the blue section is supposed to be the publication that come from low-income countries. As you see, is not present at all in the graph. So this is one of the symptoms that something we need to, improve. If you also see here related with the investment, you can say, oh, low-income countries increase a lot their public expenditure, but this is with China in. If we take China, it's not too much. And of course, Latin America is it's not discriminated in this table, but of course, in Latin America, what happened is that the public investment is very, very low, and it was decreasing since the 80s, more or less. But also, it's very important to see the private sector. So we have a new actor in all the innovation system. It's not just before the public sector was doing the main investment. Now, in the last decade, and I can say probably after the 90s, the private sector, the philanthropy is very, very important. And that creates at the same time some risk, benefits, and trade-off, if I can say, and be proper. So at the same time, and talking about the private sector, we have the venture capital. And I know most of you are very interested. And I'm really curious because when I read a statistic about venture capital and I see how much billion of dollars they are assigning to the agricultural sector, but how that impact to small farmers. And when I say small farmers, I'm not talking about a farmer with just 1 acre or 1 hectare. I'm talking about a huge range of farmers from half an hectare to maybe 500 hectares, because in each country, the small farmer is defined differently. So how we are able to deliver from that to them. So that is a question that nobody is addressing until now. I mean, I am in contact with a lot of venture capital organizations. So at the same time, what here is the same is the expenditures in low-income countries on R&D are relatively, lower than other countries, and especially we have a very important gaps in Latin America. And another actor that is very, very important on talking about all the research or innovation ecosystems is what is the role of the multilateral banks? What is the role of those agencies that are able to finance supposedly the research and development? So we have, and this in the publication that I mentioned before, we have here how the multilateral and bilateral assistance have been growing. But it was mainly for Africa and Asia. And I came here to talk about Latin America. So how Latin America is coping or is working and trying to increase their investment in public research and development, and we are going to see how. So it's very important to read and to keep, all these type of publication as a frequent reading, because you have, all the information that mostly we need to have in order to understand what is happening in our environment. So in summary, if we talk about investment for science, technology, and innovation, and I am speaking from the Latin American perspective, it had been a decrease on the investment. I think it's because research and development, it was not a high priority for most of the government. Also, when a government or when a country is under very, macroeconomic or political instability, that create that the R&D area is not like a main priority, while it is the base to be competitive. As I said, the priority of the government, FAO, of course, identify that the investment in R&D are crucial for the development of the innovation and for foster competitiveness as well. And another point that we are learning among all the international cooperation, the actors, the multilateral banks, the venture capital, that there is a space to think which kind of new financing mechanism we can create in order to be more, efficient. So I will just mention blended finance. I'm not going to say that is a solution. I will say this is an opportunity. Something different can be done. Before, public financing was just for government and private financing was for the private sector. What about if we mix them? Well, just I put this as an example, because what I want you to do with all of you is try to think out of the box. Try to think in something that, maybe can be a crazy idea, but maybe can be the best solution for some organization or country. So let's go a little bit over Latin America and the Caribbean. And let's see some data from ASTI. If you are looking for statistics related with research and development and investment for any region in the world, you can go to this program. This ASTI program was supported by the CGR and also is free. I think now it's migrating to FAO, I'm not sure. For Latin America and the Caribbean, it's very, it's very, how I can say, surprising that statistics are just for 2010, 2011, 2012, because nobody want to support later the work of, gather new data. I think the Inter-American Development Bank is supporting last year or 2 years ago, they supported just updating information for some countries, not for the whole region. But in order for us to understand how we can be better on designing policies, for example, having this statistic is key. So what happened in Latin America? Look, just the public spending in R&D in most of the countries are under 1% of the GDP. Why? Do you think that is right? No, probably we say no. And I don't think the trend today is going to be bigger than this. So this is one of the first, red flag that we see. The other is how much time we, as a researcher, assigned for research. When you are a researcher, you do a lot of activities. You do activities related 100% with research. You do other activities related with administrative stuff. So the time that is assigned to research for the researchers are here. This is a specific equivalent that they use, but mostly Argentina, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, and Colombia is look like the here. People that really do research and don't do other activities. At the same time, what happened with the level of the education of the researchers? Well, the level of the PhD are, lesser in some countries than other countries. Brazil, I think Mexico and Chile, they show here, a percentage. If we look at the age, and this is something that is also very important, we have, and this is not for Latin America, this happens everywhere, we have an aging process of the teams, the researchers groups. Most of the researchers, and especially those with higher level of education, are older than 50. And we don't know if we really have enough new scientists that they want to join in this type of career as well. And finally, the percentage of female in the researchers, we can see that varies between countries. So we have, and actually we have a webinar last week with 4 scientists that they work with FONTAGRO in different projects. And we saw that Argentina and Colombia, they have higher level of female participation, gender participation in research. But also we realized that most of the work of the female researchers is done in labs. There is no more jobs in farm. So we are going to have actually a different webinar through the year, trying to, understanding better what happened in each country, and just to exchange ideas in how we can go over that situation. So let's see what does it happen when developing new technologies. And this is something that most of you probably know. I recommend also to read this book, Science Under Scarcity. It's a very big book, but they have very, very good information. I think it's from the 90s, if I remember. I don't have right now the data, but this is something that I want to show you to all of you. Look at the time from what one technology is developed until it's launched as a technology, and also it can be adopted for a group of farmers. It can have more than 10 years. We cannot weigh that. We cannot. I mean, by the time a technology is deployed and is maybe adopted for some group of farmers, maybe there is another better technology that was developed before or at the same time. So one of the challenges that we have when working on creating new knowledge, new technologies, new innovation is this curve here. We need to move it back. We cannot wait 10 years. We need to go over maybe 5 years. Even 5 years is like, it's a lot of time. So this is something that is very important for you to keep in mind about the lag of the time that all the process in developing a new knowledge, technology, and innovation takes. And now also we need to understand better what is when we are talking about international cooperation. As you see, I'm increasing the level of complexity. Every time that I'm moving the slide, I'm giving you a lot of information, because this is everything that we do every second. Every time that we need to, answer a question or give an advice, all those things play together, right? So when talking about international cooperation, maybe you know, maybe you don't, we have all the institutes from the 1CGR systems, which they are all distributed around the world. In Latin America, we have 3 of them, one that focuses on wheat and maize, another that focuses on potatoes and tubers, and we have other that is more about tropical agriculture. But then from ASTI, I retrieved this photo, which I think is also very important. And when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at all the infrastructure that we have to create science. But that infrastructure, do you think that they work collaboratively or not? Do you think that we have developed enough connections to make them or make us to work collaboratively is still a challenge. So to talk about better about the structure or the infrastructure that we have in Latin America at the national level, universities started to appear at the age of the 1800, beginning 900. I can be wrong, but more or less. Then in Latin America speaking, the innovation system is different from what you know here in US. In Latin America, you have universities that they do academics, they do research, but you also have the National Research Institutes that they are in the middle between the academia and the farmers. Yeah, and they have a very important role because they also do research with sometimes you can think though maybe we are duplicating, yeah, maybe yes, but we will see how they can work together with the academia, but they are very well connected. And then you have the Ministry of Agriculture. So the innovation system at a national level work differently in Latin America than other countries. In US, you don't have institutes. You have the academia, the universities, and then you have the extension agencies, if I am right? So I don't know if we have institutes.
Well, we have Agricultural Research Service within USDA, and they have some research centers around.
So we have something that is matches more or less with the national research institutions.
It would be
Yeah.
sort of a parallel INIPOP in.
Oh, perfect. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is important. So we have this infrastructure. We have the academy, universities, we have the institute, and then we have the Ministry of Agriculture. I like to always work with date. It's important to know that in Latin America, and I think I have a slide after, we have every year where each national institute was created. Then we have the international cooperation. The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, 1942. The World Bank, 1944. Years are more or less exactly, they are not perfect. Can be because this is dependent from which I got the information. Then we have the Food and Agriculture Organization, the Economic Commission for Latin American Region, the Inter-American Bank, the 1CGR in 1971, the IFAD, FONTAGRO 1998, and so on. But even though we have the national infrastructure and we have the international infrastructure for research, we also have developed dialogues. People get together from all around the world and start talking about, what we are going to do with agriculture, what we are going to do with the transformation of the food system. What about research and development? I mean, I have been on the agendas of all those dialogues, and the presence of Latin America as the, as a main topic for research and development is, in my opinion, not present as I would wish to be. And I think that happened with other regions as well. And then we have the private sector. As I said, philanthropy, companies, venture capital, other initiatives, mix or blends from all the above. And speaking about companies, it's interesting how in the last 2 decades, some companies that they were mostly developing seeds or agrochemical, they started to partner up backwards with other companies and other organizations to do research, because what we are doing is trying to de-risk what includes to invest in science, innovation, science, technology, and innovation. So some views, and this is my personal view after 25 years of experience working in this environment. The increase of all, all these organizations, and every time we have more organizations, is that good? It is good, or it's not too good. What we need to improve in order to make they more efficient or more have more efficacy on the role they need to play. So because this is a lot. I can tell you this is a lot of. If every year I start planning all my year, and I am full book until November. If I put all the meetings, all the meetings, international meetings, dialogues. So all the funding that we are mobilizing through them, how that transform in a benefit for farmers. So there are some questions I maybe need to research a little bit more on this, but increasing the number of organizations or actors also increases bureaucracy, and that happened. I come from in FONTAGRO leading with so many organizations. Each organization has their own regulations, their own administrative procedures. It's not easy to make them. I mean, an idea can be great, but when you need to put it on place, when you need to implement it, you need to deal with all the differences in administration and regulations, and sometimes that make a project, stop. So that's one of my questions. It can turn into duplicated effort. Yes, that happen a lot. That some organizations are accessing to funding to research something in one country, and the same organization, another researcher that is not connected, is accessing to the funding to research the same. So sometimes, most of the time, when we have a lot of organizations doing the same or trying to do the same, and they are not very well connected, duplication happens, and that's not create impact. As I said before, it has been a decline in the public funding, at least in Latin America. Also, the aging process, that is very important, because sometimes the organization need to work in any specific topic, and they don't have a researcher that can do that work, and they need to do it, but you cannot find a PhD from the night to the morning. You help a person to become a PhD through a long time. So this is what is happening also right now. And of course, in Latin America, we have high political and economic instability and social instability, which make more difficult to try to create a more sustainable long-term plan when investing in R&D. So the national research and innovation systems, I will start talking on the very important role that the National Institute have. Yeah, 5 minutes? Oh, well. So I'm sorry, I need to move forward. I want to go to FONTAGRO. Well, just to make you a summary, all the complexities that we have seen, it is kind of an alternative to cope with all of them, is creating the research and innovation agricultural ecosystems. And I will explain very briefly about FONTAGRO. FONTAGRO, which is the Regional Fund for Agricultural Technology, is a trust fund, it's a fund. Look how important was the creation of FONTAGRO. With all the complexities that we have seen before, some visionaries from the Inter-American Development Bank and other people, and also the country representatives, they decided to create a trust fund where the funding of each country go to the trust fund, and the trust funds create capital every year because we invest the funding. The countries that are part of FONTAGRO are Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Spain, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, Uruguay, and Venezuela. We still need to work maybe, and we have invited Mexico and Brazil to be part, and also some other countries from Latin America. So all these countries, they just, send money one time in life, and with that funding, we create, right now a FONTAGRO which has around $100 million, but at the same time, we have in 25 years, we have co-invested $137 million. So look how important this mechanism is in order to cope with all the complexities that we saw before, and at the same time, help financing research and development. So we have different partners. This is how we were, growing all the time. But always the strategy is we co-finance. We don't finance. We co-finance. If you want to do this in this country, we help you, but you have to, put your part as well. And this is very important because in that way, you create the commitment of the parties, to achieve the goal that you are asking for. So this is some others. I will go through this very quickly. So this is some results that we have. The initial capital was $83 million. As I said before, we currently have $100 million, but at the same time, we did like one-time round to the whole capital in co-invested on different technologies. Even though we are 15 countries, we have reached 35 countries, because even though if you are not a member country, you can be part of our initiatives, but with your own funding. And this is, for example, how we work with Brazil. Brazil is not a member. However, Brazil participates in a lot of initiatives that we have because they work with, they participate with their own funding. So we have reached around 580 organizations. In my opinion, it had to be more than that in 25 years. But the problem was that we just we just went digital with FONTAGRO after 2019. And this is something that I recommend, and I will show after in a few slides, that right now science requires to be digital. You cannot work as a scientist, putting your data in your own computer or in your notebook. We need to design integrated systems in the universities or in the national research institution where the scientists, add the data, because once the scientist retires or leave, all that information is missing, and we lost a very important part of the result of our investment. So the number I have is just 580. We didn't have the opportunity to, recover information from before. As I said, 185 projects, and this is the more important, the fund leverage. We have achieved on mobilizing $5 for each dollar we invested, for example, in one project in cocoa. And this is what I'm talking about, co-financing, and we are not financing, we co-finance. And this is important also for the other organizations that are part of the projects that we run. At least we consider we identify 88,000 people that was trained, and this is a mix between train and attending to different seminars, 40,000 beneficiaries, 1,500 scientists in our network, and at least 63 new technologies that have been developed. This map that you are seeing here is online. You can go online right now in FONTAGRO and you can see every project that we have actually in the past and now. Currently, we have 58 international initiatives, and something that is very important when talking about the initiatives is we don't work by individual countries. What we do, and this is what I really like from FONTAGRO, is every project that we run is constituted by more than 2 FONTAGRO member countries. So in each time that you have a goal or you have a challenge on developing, for example, technologies for rice to increase productivity with less emission, we gather 5 countries with different level of knowledge on that. Maybe one country is the leader because they have people better trained. So we put together to work simultaneously 4, 5, 6, 11 countries together to understand how they can be better one each other, and when developing the new knowledge or the new technologies or the innovation. So this is something that really I want to highlight from FONTAGRO business model. So we have a lot of initiatives, and this is part of the whole infrastructure that we have. Every blue point here is an extension agency or a research agency all across the continent. We need to add at the Brazil site. This is going to be my next work. And this is, I don't know if you can see here the continent, but this is how many projects we are running in each country. In each project, one country has the role as a leader, and the other has the role as a co-leader. So they have their own governance systems. And this are all the topics that they are working from potato, livestock, and from where all these topics come from a strategic plan that we have, and our board assign funding every year, depending on the priorities that they have. And I will go I have a few slides here, but are all the networks that we have developed in the 25 years. We did a research with the University Polytechnic from Valencia, very great team that they help us to understand how the scientists on our project were connecting with each other. So they cover a lot of activities. Look, I mean, I cannot go in detail right now because I have less than 2 minutes probably, or maybe I am less than 1 minute. But this is what we are looking at. I mean, we are looking at create more networks, more relationship, more linkage, and among all scientists cross-border. It's not just in Latin America. We work with a lot of scientists in Europe and US. I'm sorry I couldn't translate this one, but this is how many publications and the author of those publications as well. And here are in the system that I mentioned, that is digital and you can access through the website. You can see in each country which kind of initiatives we are running, who is the team leader, or the leader in each country. All the information is absolutely open and public. And this is the network that we have. Every scientist, we promote that scientists show themselves in a video, telling about what they are doing, why what they are doing is important for the country or for the region as well. We have developed a lot of knowledge management and communication and dissemination products. This is how you will see some initiatives that we have. Let me go faster on here. And something that I want to highlight is the business model of FONTAGRO. It has 4 windows where I will say 3 windows where you can work with us. One is call for proposal. We have 1 call for proposal open right now. 2023 is in our website. It's related with sustainable agriculture and also nutrition. We have a context in bioeconomy and circular economy, which I recommend if some of you is connected with others scientists that work in that field, tell them to, about this opportunity. And then we have joint projects. A joint project is an initiative that became, an opportunity for funding when you have a challenge and maybe that challenge is shared with some countries in our board. So when our board decided to work together on a specific topic, we can fund that joint project. We have 3 committees because we have the role of promoting the dialogue. This is how we increased the knowledge products through in the last years. And this is something that I wanna, it's very, I don't know if you can see from the back, but we did a research. We're evaluating 7 projects that included like a $8 million investment. The economic return that we estimated, it was around $83.3 million, but for sure was more than that. The problem we had is science doesn't have a mechanism to congregate or aggregate all the information. So by the time we wanted to do the evaluation, a lot of information was not accessible. This is our board and our team as well. Representatives from Costa Rica, Spain, Argentina, Paraguay, Ecuador. I really want to highlight my board because thanks to them, FONTAGRO is growing, FONTAGRO is resilient, and I really want to highlight them because they have a huge commitment with this mechanism, even though their term is very short because some of them change with the change of the different political appointees, but all of them are very committed. Even, for example, Venezuela. So finally, what we can take away from this, we have challenges that they are common challenges. We are experiencing a huge complexity when trying to understand how we can be better at financing research and development, especially in developing countries or low-income countries. The opportunity we have is improve the collaboration and cooperation and look at not system, but ecosystems. There is not a rule to create an ecosystem, a research or innovation ecosystem. It will depend of the complexity with that you lead, depending of the countries that you are adding in those. And finally, and this is the last one, just say that agriculture is one of the main sector in all our economies. And to be successful in our economies, in agriculture, innovation is key. And if we don't have a sustainable plan for financing research and development, it's going to be difficult for all the countries to be really successful. So let's turn this in something positive. Let's join in thinking how we can help one each other on building these new research ecosystems and try to be better on financing, the research, the science, technology, and innovation that we need. Thank you.
Thanks, Eugenia. Jenna tells me that the microphone is not working properly, so if you have questions, ask them with volume. Questions for Eugenia? Yes, sir.
Do you have a sense for the fisheries on the Amazon? How the current yields of the Amazon for fishing compare to decades ago?
No, I have to be honest. No, we don't have that information. I think it's maybe because Brazil is still not a member, so we don't share mostly information with the Amazon. However, what I can tell you from the Amazon, the Amazon region is huge. It's not just Brazil, right? It's include Ecuador, it's include part of Colombia, Peru. What we are trying to work in the Amazon region is how we can rely on biodiversity, on trying to identify new crops that can be a better source of food or vitamins or minerals for society, and how we can work with the small farmers under certain conditions, because most of the time those small farmers could be indigenous communities. So there is a challenge that we are trying, but it's more on that side.
More on that side, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Related with biodiversity and small farmers and indigenous communities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, could you comment a little bit about the increase in agriculture produce in country able to have the right Peru has different produce, but you can have my farmers in that you never saw any Peruvian labels or anything like that. Now I can go back to Wegmans and you really see a lot of.
Yes.
So who started?
I think the role of the private sector, if I understand well your question, is how, for example, Peru was able to go to market access, right?
Yeah.
So we have one initiative that was run a long time ago in FONTAGRO related with native potatoes. The researchers at Ecuador and Peru, that they are expert in native potatoes, the potatoes that they come with colors. So FONTAGRO, for example, helped on supporting financially some part of the research, especially in genetic improvement. But then a company partnered up with the national research institutions and farmers, and they developed new potato chips, the color potato chips, for example. And I went to Ecuador in 2019, and the owner of that company was there in that meeting. And he said, that was great. We were able to sell the produce in US. So I think the leadership of small companies or the leadership of the private sector in this case is very, very important, because they are able to identify an opportunity to add value to the this specific produce, but at the same time they have the skills on organizing the small farmers, because one of the challenges that we have is around 15 or 17 million families in the rural area in Latin America are small farmers. So how we can organize them in order to help them to be better at accessing to markets. So I think the private sector has a very important role. In the last few months, I also met another group, which is called Producers Trust or Producers Market, which is an American guy who decided to partner up with people from Colombia, and they are trying to help, for example, farmers to make a better way to access to markets. And I think we need that leadership because that will improve the add value on the produce, and that is going to go backwards and say, okay, this research is important because we know that it has a value at the end of the value chain. So I think that is a very important role that the private sector can play, actually.
We're going to have to wrap it up there. Let me make one final announcement. Thank you so much, Eugenia.
Thank you.
And that is, Eugenia has been very generous in connecting students and faculty to opportunities in FONTAGRO and all the member countries, partner organizations, and projects. So that opportunity extends to faculty and researchers here. It extends to students. I saw a student who was in my class last year in one of the photos there. So that goes to professional affiliations for Humphrey Fellows, internships. Yeah, there Hazel was in my class. It goes to internships for undergraduates, capstone projects for professional master's students, and so on. So see Eugenia if you have an interest. You'll be able to find FONTAGRO and her as the lead person in FONTAGRO quite easily online. So thank you for that, Eugenia.
Thank you very much.